Yeah, so kind of disappeared for a couple of weeks there. Hopefully you understand with the the big Run London resurgence video and then the clothing collection that came with it and everything else. I've just been a little bit busy. But for now, I'm back. It's Giles Compiles. So first up, we have Jacob Rene with a very raw compilation of just a whole load of phone clips from the last couple of months. So to put it simply, Jacob trains that Alfred Scott Russian style of freerunning. And I don't mean that in a negative way whatsoever. It's just an easy way to describe the technical, difficult, mental tricks that this guy's throwing down. I don't really know what else to say. I hadn't heard of Jacob before this video. He's throwing down disgusting stuff that I couldn't even comprehend, and he's doing it very, very well. So go check him out and give him your support. Next up, we have an athlete who has been making waves in the scene the last couple of weeks, and I am super excited to see more from. It's George McGowan. George is from Northern Ireland, and to put it very, very bluntly, he's fucking springy. This guy can do back sevens more easily than I can do a backflip. On top of that, he has got just amazing tricks completely on lock. The other day, he was in the gym posting videos of standing Rudies on flat ground, saying that he wants to take it outside soon. On top of that, he's also just got incredible power and control when it comes to parkour, and is just generally a really well-rounded athlete. My next feature comes from 17-year-old New York-based Nick Hart. Nick's a really fun one to watch because as well as having a whole load of power, he clearly puts a ton of emphasis on control as well. The majority of stuff in this video is generally really clean, and it's almost always finished off with an incredibly satisfying stick, which is so good to see from someone young in our sport. Also, bonus points for doing that cat pass pre off that chain fence. Next up, we have an amazingly put together video from Steel City called Adam Dunlap's Pro Freerunner, which is obviously a play on the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater games. If you've never heard of those games or played them, then I genuinely feel sorry for you. The video is made really well. They've got the score in the top left corner, all the lists of names popping up whenever they do stuff, and there's three things I really liked about it. Firstly, they use Rage Against the Machine for the soundtrack. Secondly, they use Cat Pass over Kong in the trick description. And thirdly, they did legit stuff. There's so many times where people make game parody parkour videos and the movement isn't usually up to scratch. They put so much focus on making it look like the game that the movement kind of falls to the side. But they do some seriously big stuff in this video. It's just sick all round. Lastly, we have a short documentary piece called The Hunt for Power, which was shot by Abdul Nurdin Hissin, I think I'm pronouncing that right, and features Tom Taylor. Tom's the guy behind the parkour events calendar that I featured a couple of weeks ago, but he's also a really powerful athlete. This video is just a nice look into Tom's movement, his training, and the incorporation of powerlifting into his training. To be honest, it was also just a huge breath of fresh air from a lot of the content that seems to be coming out of the community at the moment. I had so many submissions in my inbox from the last couple of weeks, and a huge chunk of them all felt exactly the same. What I'm talking about is your standard training video that is then just overshadowed by over-the-top editing, whether it be opacity overlays, weird jump cuts halfway through movements, like anything else thrown on top in some weird attempt to make the video better. But all it does is it just takes away from what is good movement. And it could be appreciated as good movement, but there's just too much going on to really focus on it. I totally get that people want to experiment with videos. We're in this amazing time where the ability to make videos is incredibly cheap, and therefore more and more people are doing it. It's a really fun way to express yourself creatively. And I totally encourage experimenting with your videos. But if you're making a parkour video to show off your or someone else's movement, in my opinion, that should always be the precedent. I guess just try and find that balance. Like when you're editing the video and chopping it all together, laying on these effects, just stop and think, if I showed this to someone who didn't do parkour or freerunning, would they still be able to understand what the athlete is doing, how big the jump is, the technicality of it? All of these factors that should be the main focus of the video. Anyway, that's my little rant out of the way. In community news, the guys behind World Chase Tag, which as it sounds is essentially competitive tag or IT, in which parkour athletes in the UK scene seem to be getting involved a fair bit, are hosting a couple of events. They're basically hosting a qualifying competition and then a final competition. Currently they're looking for video submissions from teams of preferably 4 people that showcase all of the dynamic movements that are applicable to chase tag. Once they select the teams, they'll then be taken to an event in Wales that's taking place at the start of June. There they'll compete against each other, and the winner of that will then go on to the event in July to compete against a number of teams such as Storm Freerun and reigning champions Marrero Gang. I'm assuming this call out is focused predominantly on UK based teams, but hit the link in the bio for more information. And that is all for this episode of Giles Compiles. Remember, if you want to submit your videos, send them to gilescompiles@gmail.com. I am 99% certain I will be here next week. I'm in the UK, I'm home, so I'm pretty certain there'll be another episode next week. The week after that, I think I'm going to Morocco, so you have been warned. Thank you very much. The majority of stuff in this video is generally really clean, but it's almost always finished off But it's almost always finished off. Finished off, you fucking dipshit.